A mid-November edition of Nighttime at Noon. Dave Goucher, Dan Duva. A couple of guys that like to yap a lot. You're going to hear us yapping a lot for the next hour or so. Great to have you with us here on all of our social media channels, the Twitters, the Twitch, YouTube, the Facebook. I think that's what they call it, Dan. Something along those lines.
How about a Western Union telegram, Dave?
How about like a long string and 2 tin cans? But great to have you with us here at Nighttime at Noon on Fox Sports Las Vegas and all of our social media channels as well. Right off the bat, we will tell you in segment number 2, we're going to be joined by Golden Knights head coach Bruce Cassidy. His team is off to a fantastic start. No practice for the VGK today, so a day off for the team. They'll be back at it tomorrow. Morning skate here, and then the San Jose Sharks come to town tomorrow night. So we should mention right off the bat, Dan, we usually in our studio, it's just us and some people that help us get on the air. We have a live studio audience today. Who's in the house?
Wow, it's a
here?
live studio. Does that mean we have to kick our game up a notch for the audience?
No, I would lower the bar of expectation.
Like, what's going to happen?
Yep.
Kathy and Tony Duva are here.
Yeah,
Lawless, on the radio broadcast, it's almost as though he's speaking to them at times. He shouts them out. So Dave's doing it now.
That's great.
We've got a trend developing.
Right here, we usually don't have an audience,
No.
so we do feel a little bit of extra pressure.
They've
and
flown
they're not
in from the swamps of Jersey.
Just to see Nighttime at Noon.
No, Aerosmith's here.
I
That's
hope
what's
not.
happening.
Yeah, go see Aerosmith. That's what I would fly in for. Exactly. But so yeah, the VGK, needless to say, off to a terrific start, notwithstanding the loss to the St. Louis Blues here on Saturday that ended that 9-game winning streak. I don't know how you felt about it, Dan, going into that game, but I didn't have a great feeling. It just kind of set up for a bit of a letdown, right? They come off the 5-game road trip. They win all 5 games. They've ripped off 9 in a row. They're one of the hottest teams in the league. And you've got a Blues team coming in that's trying to turn around their season, right? They had lost 8 in a row. They win a game. Now they're trying to build back-to-back wins. I didn't have a good feeling about it before the game, and I'm disappointed, I guess, that those negative feelings or the not good feeling kind of came to fruition Saturday.
The scoring the Knights had done on the road got them out of some jams.
Yeah.
The third period, Montreal, the third period in Buffalo, that, was, just look at the goals against in those games. They gave up 4 in Buffalo, 3 in Toronto, 4 in Montreal, 4 in Ottawa. The only time they kept an opponent under 3 was the first game of the trip, the 3-2 overtime win in Washington. And, of course, they needed late offense in that game as well. They just couldn't find the late offense in this one. It was the fewest goals they scored since the 2-1 victory against the Jets, which was their last home game. And I wonder, how much of it is physical, but it's also like the mental fatigue. Bruce touched on this a little bit. You come back and you're thinking, okay, I know that I'm physically out of sorts, so then you start to play the mental games. All right, maybe I'm not going to try quite as hard right here so I can save my energy for later. And it affects each guy differently. But I think you bring up a great point. In the Blues, having lost 8 straight and plenty of adversity there, they had just come off a victory against San Jose. Plus, they were staying the night. And I wonder if there's a certain carrot to be dangled there if you're going to enjoy a night in Las Vegas, that you might as well go full bore. And the Blues played well. Binnington played well. And, there was just the second half of the second period for the Golden Knights wasn't their best. Spirited third period just wasn't enough to beat Jordan Bennington, who's got 7 wins against the Golden Knights, 7-1-3.
Yeah, what were the shots in the third period?
22. Let's see if sometimes they update it,
Yeah,
but
I
I've
was
got
trying
it at
to find it on
22
the
to
fly
5.
here. Yeah,
22 to 5.
That's
It
exactly
was 19 to 8 for the Blues in the second, and then 22 to 5 in the third period for Vegas.
And I think the Golden Knights, and I'm not sure if they added one, like Noel Acciari had a real good chance on Aiden Hill to give them a bit of a cushion. Hill made a big save on it.
Yeah.
And I don't know if they added that. In real time, they hadn't put the shot up on the board, but our great stat man, Ray LeBeff, had the Golden Knights landing the final 20 shots of the game.
Yeah.
And couldn't beat Bennington.
And it happened in the first period, too, Dave.
Right.
After that Brandon Saad goal, the Blues didn't have another shot the rest of that period.
Yeah.
So you had long stretches without any shots given up.
And the best save of them all was Braden Shen on Jonathan Marchessault.
Right.
Of all those, right? Where
Yeah.
McNabb has a
The
chance.
rebound, yep.
Bennington makes a save, and Marchessault, I think, probably feels he's got a pretty good chance to score. And I will tell you, in real time, did you see Shen make the save?
I couldn't tell.
I couldn't tell either.
I couldn't tell. There were so many bodies. I wasn't sure. The first try from McNabb, I wasn't sure if that went off. And the second look, you could tell it went off Bennington's arm near his glove. But the first look, there were so many bodies there, and that happened a few times. There were so many people around the net. The puck right in Stone's skates at one point.
Yeah.
He couldn't find it. He's looking down. Just you look one way or the other, the puck bounces one way or the other. Could have had a few different goals there, but you're right. That Shen play was a game saver.
Well, and Shane was down between the benches for that one, and he's got a great angle because he's on that side of the ice. He's on the bench
That's
side
the angle.
of the ice.
It wasn't until we saw the reverse angle that we really figured out what happened.
Well, son of a gun, Braden Shed made a save, unbeknownst to me. But yeah, in a tough way for the streak to end. But to your point, and so a couple of things. John Stevens, we chatted with him before the game in the morning on Saturday, and he said, when you come off trips like this, 5 games, 10 days, you'd love an extra day. You'd love another day because you get.
So would we.
So would we. Even though I got off early because it was an ESPN game in Buffalo, so you and Darren Elliott were doing that one. But even I was like, and we just sit up there and yap away. We're not physically, getting beat up every night like these guys.
Yeah, and then was a question I asked the guys in the room the morning of the game. When we flew back late that night, I mean, the flight takes off at 11. You got the 3-hour time change. But what time do you get to sleep? What time do you get home? But what time do you get to sleep? It's just a weird thing. Bruce Cassidy said that he tried to not sleep on the plane. He wanted to get work done on the plane. And think about that. If he's not sleeping on the plane, he's basically staying up to 4 in the morning. Then you factor in the time change. It's 1 o'clock about when Vegas lands back here in Pacific time. But so Bruce is burning the midnight oil on the airplane because he didn't want to have to do that work the next day, wanted to spend some time with the family after having been on the road for 10, 11 days. But guys were saying, I didn't get to sleep until like 2:30. And then the next morning, well, how late did you sleep? And then so you're just kind of out of sorts that day. Even though there was no practice, it just is a weird thing. And several of these guys, Bruce Cassidy included, haven't done it a lot in the Western Conference. We've gotten used to it because, for us now 6 years in the Western Conference. But, Chandler Stevenson, he's been with Vegas for a couple of years, but this kind of a trip hadn't happened too often. And some other guys, too. Alex Pietrangelo said it felt like it was the longest trip that he's ever gone on.
Well, it's funny, too, Nick, because in the East, especially where Bruce is coming from in Boston, and I can speak from experience there, you're spoiled with how easy it is.
Oh, yeah.
We probably had a dozen teams in Boston within an hour-and-a-half flight. I mean, you're talking the 3 New York Metro teams, but Toronto, Montreal, Ottawa, all easy. Philly, easy. Pittsburgh, easy. D.C.'s not that far. Raleigh, North Carolina's not that far. You don't even give it any thought. And then when you get out west, and the time change. I always thought it was nuts that the Detroit Red Wings were in the Western Conference all those years, but sat in the Eastern time zone.
Yeah.
They should at least be in the Central time zone, but they're not.
No. No.
So it's a lot to – but, that being said, and I think they felt it took them a little too long to get to their game on Saturday. The third period was obviously their best. Second periods have been a little bit, and Bruce even addressed it in his media conference before the game. Second periods have been a little bit of an issue. They didn't have a good second period the other night and then fall short. They have that little, 2 goals in 40 seconds.
Right.
A bit of a communication breakdown between Hill and Haig. Barbashev takes advantage of a pass from Shen, and then O'Reilly scores 40 seconds later. Turned out that was all she wrote. I said late with about 5-6 minutes left. I said, because you try to do the reverse jinx. The Golden Knights are due for a power play.
The reverse jinx.
And they didn't get one.
Yeah. Wasn't
And
that
I know
crazy?
the Blues are the least penalized team in the league, but
2 games in a row.
yes, I'm like, that's almost unheard of. They didn't take any penalties in the game against San Jose, and they didn't take any against Vegas.
And it was the first time since the end of the 18-19 season, Ray LaBeouf again, our terrific stats guy, came up with that it had not happened for any team in the league to have 2 games in a row, 0 times shorthanded, and then it just so happened the Blues managed to do it against the Sharks and Knights. And I found it interesting yesterday when Bruce talked about it. The offense for the Knights, they've scored power play goals, but even if they haven't scored on the power play, it's led to the offense clicking in gear. And if the Knights offense is sort of reliant on the power play, so be it, was Bruce's phrase yesterday. I mean, this is a team that has those weapons. They've been productive. They created chances. So when you have the very rare circumstance, I think that was the 7th time ever the Knights have gone without a power play opportunity in a regular season game. That's not going to happen very often. So there's nothing wrong with embracing the way that the Knights get their offense through extra man opportunities.
Yeah, and the fact that their power play this year has been a difference maker in games, and we've all lived through the last 5 years when so often it hasn't. They lead the league in shorthanded goals. Riley Smith leads. Well, I think they were tied as of the other night with. I had it.
Yeah, I forget.
I don't know. I wrote it down. What do you say, Dan? You write these things down for a reason. But they were tied the other night with their 4th shorty of the season. Riley Smith leads the league with 3.
Right.
And that's been a huge part of their success. They've been a great front-running team, right? They've scored first in 10 of their 16 games. They don't trail much.
No.
If you think about it.
Nope.
And then they've been able, they've been able to really kind of put, I know a little bit in Ottawa and in Montreal, and I guess in Buffalo too, right? I think Jack Eichel was saying after the Buffalo game, which we should certainly touch on that. It was a rather enjoyable evening for him and the team. The Buffalo game, and I know you were there calling it, never really felt like it was in control.
No. Just the moment you started to sense some separation, there would be an answer back the other way. And it was another one of those third periods that you kind of remember the way it finished. And, they don't keep track of at the end of the season, the standings reflect who's leading at the end of the game, not at the end of the first period or the second period.
And I'll tell you what they keep track of is wins.
Right.
And the Golden Knights have won 13 times in their first 16 games, so they're off to their best start in team history. We're going to step aside here. We mentioned Golden Knights head coach Bruce Cassidy will join us. He is waiting in the wings, and he will join us next on Fox Sports Las Vegas.
There we go.
What the hater do? If I do not try, then I will have failed, and I can't afford not to make a move. I was told I was not good enough. I was told I was not capable. I had to sit and just ask myself, what you gonna let it make of you? Whoa, everything that I've been working for is right in front of me. I
Great to have you with us here on this Monday. It's the Golden Knights, middle of a homestand here. They'll have the San Jose Sharks here on Tuesday, and then the Arizona Coyotes here on Thursday. Reminder for you, friends, one of the best rivalries in all of sports coming to the Dollar Loan Center in Henderson on Thursday, December the 15th. The U.S. and Canadian national women's teams will battle it out. They battled it out in the past, of course, on the Olympic and World Championship stages for decades, and they will do it again. It's coming to the Las Vegas Valley. Visit thedollarloancenter.com to get your tickets and see one of the best battles in the world take place. The U.S. and Canadian national women's team on December the 15th. Dave Goucher, Dan Duva, great to have you with us here on Nighttime at Noon. We're happy to be joined by Bruce Cassidy, Golden Knights head coach, nice enough to stop by. How's it going?
Yeah, good. Quiet day today.
Yeah,
so,
that's good.
Recharge the batteries.
So what do you do on it? So no practice for the team. What does the coaching staff do on a day like this?
We were informal today. Everyone was in on their own time. Some have school drop off for kids, and other people are a little later or earlier. Most of the guys get a quick workout in. We like I said, we didn't meet to go over anything from the St. Louis game. We were in yesterday, and we start our prep work for San Jose last night, and we'll talk about it tomorrow. So just a little downtime.
It's interesting to have a couple of days with no practice, no hockey, after the travel back, after the 10-day trip. I know that there's a certain sense of wanting to rest mentally, physically, but as a coach with a new team, I can't imagine how much you're itching to get your hands on the guys as much as you possibly can.
Yes and no. I think it's just when you're away from your families for 11 days, guys just need time to decompress. It went really well out on the road. There's parts of our game that obviously we could work on every day, and any coach would tell you that needs to work, but you got to balance that with getting away from the rink and enjoying some time away from it. I mean, it's Vegas. It's sunny out, so get outside, enjoy the sun. Or whatever it is, you get to the rink with your kids in minor hockey, whatever they're doing this time of year, and come back a little more recharged. I think that helps you over the course of a long year.
The team's off to a great start, Bruce, the best start they've ever had, 13-3 here through 16 games. A lot has gone well. I wonder if coaches, by their nature, tend to worry about more the things that aren't going well.
Yes.
What are you worried about?
Absolutely.
What are you worried about?
Well, our team defense is good, not great, and I want to get it closer, then move the needle closer to great. Part of that is, we've instilled some new things and principles that players are still working through. Part of that is, you're playing good players a lot, and part of it is what Dan alluded to, practice versus rest and going through those things. So you're doing predominantly video, and you're not working on it maybe every day on the ice but we'll keep chipping away at that. I think our penalty kill has turning the corner a little bit here. Should have been a big part of getting points against St. Louis to kill 4 penalties and then score a shorty. Unfortunately, we didn't get it done in the third period to get any points, but there's always things you want to look at. I think our offensive game is good right now. I think we're generating lots. That the analytics back that up. But yeah, there's always things that you're sort of going through in your head. Line combinations, we put Cotter in the other day. That's the one line that we're looking to see how we can form some chemistry on that trio and get them to be productive for us. And good to see Phil get some goals the last couple games. So, maybe that's coming around as well.
You think about the way that the team was in preseason, the first few games, and you said along the way, the line combinations today could be different in a week or 2 weeks or 2 months, etc. Now that it's been a month and a half of regular season, as a coach, generally, do you like to have some runway for some guys to figure it out? Are you inclined typically to change things quickly, especially when you've got guys who are healthy scratches who would love to get back in the lineup?
Well, there's always going to be runway. I think that's just the way it is until you've really, drilled down on what you want. And then you weigh the production, right? The 3 other lines I find have really clicked fairly well for what the ask has been. And then the other, like I said, Howie and Amo and Phil and Jake and Paul have been kind of in and out, and we're in fairness to them, you got to give it some time to let the chemistry develop. You want someone to be the glue to that line, and that's a little bit of why guys are in and out. Who can really pin down and make that line go and get it back on the rails if it starts deviating away from that. You'll see that with the other lines, I think, have corrected themselves quickly when they haven't had it, and for the most part they have had it. So it's a good problem to have, to be honest with you. We're really happy with 3 of them. The other one's not like we're unhappy. We're just trying to find the right combinations and help them play together better with, better puck support, playing closer to, still allowing them to play their strengths. So again, we got to let that play out. We'll see where it goes.
The ability, Bruce, to put points away early in seasons. We asked you about this, I think, when the team got off to the, first couple of weeks. And you made the point, there's some teams that barely make the playoffs. There's some teams that make it comfortably, and you've been part of those teams in Boston. They've had teams here that make it with more than enough room. But the importance of being able to get points in the bank, because at some point, hopefully not, but you're going to hit a little bit of a lull in your play to be able to do that.
Yeah, you will, and I better be careful how I say this, but hopefully we do hit a little bit. You got to see what you're made of in tough times.
Adversity can be
right?
a good.
Yeah, you don't want to meet it the first time in round 1 and game. You know what I mean? You'd like to have gone through some of that, so you see how do the players respond, how do they respond to being challenged, by the coaches, by the opposition, by maybe your own home crowd. There's a lot of different things that go into it, and you should have gone. Most teams, I think it's really unusual if you don't. I think Florida last year was probably in Tampa a few years ago. Look, Tampa, that first round went through it. And, I don't know exactly what happened, but you'd like to have gone through some of it. Not anywhere near like last year with all the injury challenge. You don't want that. Don't mistake what I'm saying here. But some bumps in the road maybe to fight through things and get the team to come together. I think there's different times during the year you can do that in positive manners. One of them was in Buffalo the other night. I thought was awesome for our guys we're really supporting Jack and Phil's streak, but there can also be some other ones where there's bumps too, and you pull through and come out of it better than the other side and prepares you better down the road. So, but I still like to be one of those teams that's comfortably in most of the way. Absolutely. Yeah. I think anybody would tell you that. You never want to chase it. We're not chasing it right now. And let's, sort of keep our feet on the ground and keep looking forward to the next game and getting better. And that's kind of the plan. It's been since day one, and so far so good.
So when the lull happens down the road and there's people thinking, what the hell's going on here? The head coach will be, well, it's not the worst thing in the world.
No one's going to be on top of their game, consecutively. What's good about most good teams is if someone veers off or a line, then someone's picking them up. And I see that with our group, right? It's not like our whole game is outstanding every night. There's pockets of it where it gets away from us, but we're able to get it back, and that's to me a sign of a good team. It doesn't go off the rails for 10 days. It might go off for a period, right, or 2, and then you get it back. And so those are the things that make up of a good team. Pick each other up when things aren't at their best. Win games when you've got maybe you're more of your B game than your A game. Keep working on getting your A game. Get to the A game quicker than the other team, and usually you'll have success.
There are a few other moments, talk about coming together, that you listed off. Eichel's third period in Buffalo, the hat trick, rallying around Phil Kessel in the milestone, but you also mentioned when Pietrangelo got checked against the boards, Riley Smith got hit going into the wall. Some might say, hey, that doesn't really affect the wins and the losses, but that's what I'm saying. I wonder if you could try to put into words, what does that mean?
No, it means guys are sticking together, and it's just automatic. There wasn't sort of, hey, coming between peers, we got to get that. There was just bang, we're in there and we're doing it. And it was on the road twice. It wasn't like it was at home. You're doing it in front. You know what I mean? It was just, like I said, very good to see as a coach, and I think sure the players feel that way right away when they see everyone going automatically. Whoever's first on the scene, whoever's turn it is. It's a term I used to. When it's your turn to get in there, and it was, Petro certainly was able to bounce back, but Marty, it was his turn. He was first on the scene, and it was Marshy or Carly, and I forget, in Washington. So first on the scene guys in there, I love it as a coach. I think the players would tell you the same thing.
Have you ever had a team sweep a 5-game road trip like that one?
Boy, I'd have to think about it. Boston, we had some good teams and some good runs, but I don't know. I would have to look back. Usually a 5-gamer for us when you're in the East is out west, so I'm trying to think. And believe it or not, we always had a tough time with Anaheim. We could win in L.A., we could win in San Jose. Anaheim was always the one for us that seemed to get us. And so I honestly, one year we came out and we did the West and we did Vegas and we finished in St. Louis, I think it was, and lost in a shootout. We might have got 5 out of 6 on that trip. I remember it was a year it was the Cup run. We traded for Charlie Coyle, and he met us in the middle of the trip. He could have met us in Boston at the end of the trip, and he wanted to come to Vegas because I think the guys were actually doing their rookie party.
Amazing.
Not a dummy.
Amazing.
So,
what time?
And if I remember that trip, maybe the stats geeks could back that up, but I think we were on a 6 or 7 gamer, and actually stats nerds, I called them in Boston. It was all in good fun, and it's a kind of a term of respect too,
and maybe endearment too.
Endearment, exactly. These guys are my friends. They help us win. So at the end of the day, that might have been one like that. Yeah. It's a great feeling when you're on the road to different. You're moving from, and different guys are. It's not just your goalie pitching shutouts every night. It's not a guy getting a hat trick. It's different people. I tell you, those are great team bonding moments.
Yeah, you talk about, since you brought up the numbers, we got into this because we love the game. We can learn something about the game, perhaps, from the numbers. How, with all of the information that's provided to you, do you trust your gut? Do you trust the numbers? How do you approach that balance?
Yeah, it's a good question because you got to be careful both ways. I mean, you can't ignore numbers that are flashing red. Like, hey, you guys are giving up way too much. Even though you're winning, some coaches, we're winning. It's all that matters. And other times, you're winning games and you're looking at we suck in this area, we're no good here, and you forget that, hey, we found ways to win, which is the end result, right? That matters.
Name of the game.
The process matters along the way. How you get in there matters. So there's always a balance. Funny, I was just talking to Tom, and we do 8-game segments. So we just completed one this morning. We're going to touch up on it tomorrow or Wednesday and go through it and look at numbers that maybe jump out. I think the assistants always have their areas. They're like, okay, our forecheck wasn't good in this 8-game segment, yet our special, you know what I mean? So they want to make sure they tidy up their area. So what it's good for too is it reinforces certain things and what you can do on video with your group too. Okay, but maybe we got to go back, and you said you can't follow every area of the game live as it's going along, and you sometimes the numbers help you. In neutral zone defense, teams are getting right through us. I thought we weren't bad, because we weren't giving up rushes maybe or goals. So there's always areas you pick through it, specifically the assistants, I think, and it can reinforce what they're working on.
Are you a less is more guy when it comes to the analytics?
Yeah, I think I take in a lot of it myself just because I want to know every area, and then we can meet with the coaches, hey, but I don't put a lot in the players' plates analytics. It's more for internal, okay, this is where the direction of the team's going, that's what I see, but we got to tidy up here. So I'd never go in and tell the players, hey, we're 5th in expected goals against an entry. You know what I mean? They don't want to hear that.
Their eyes would be rolling back.
Right. They're kind of, are we winning? Are we losing? Are we generating offense? Are we not? It's a little more simplified, I think, when you walk through the doors and try to get it through to the players of the area you want to sort of reinforce or correct.
Yeah, I think about it similarly on our broadcast too. We've got all these numbers. Look at all this stuff.
Look at all this junk.
But if you were to try
you guys may be these stat nerds we're talking about.
No.
I'm not saying
no.
you're.
All right,
but
this
no,
papers with my eye test tells me.
Well, that's the thing. The trick is you don't know which one of these numbers will be most helpful for the listener to know.
That's right.
But the more numbers you throw at them, the more they kind of go in one ear and out the other. And I think that's kind of what you're
when
saying.
you're doing a game, right? Like there's how many times has a team won when they've lost a special teams battle? In Buffalo, we gave up two power play goal or a shorty and 2 power play goals. How many games are you going to win doing that? Not very many.
No.
Good for us, but that's where all the scribbly stuff you got there would come in handy.
Most of this,
right?
Anyways,
There's way too much. But
hieroglyphics.
You just never know when you might need one of these numbers, and it might be useful.
Can I tell you a quick story?
Yeah.
If you don't. So the last game, my second year coaching in Jacksonville, we had a player assistant that was thinking about getting into coaching. He was a little bit older, so I made a deal because I used to do a little color at the end of my career. I went upstairs, and my GM was okay with it because we were locked into wherever we were, and he coached the game. And I went up and I called the second period of the game.
You did?
I'm a bit of that guy too. I was
How
a
did it
Danny
go?
Gallivan guy. I love back. That's the old Montreal Canadiens,
Yeah,
hockey in Canada, Bob Cole. So I used to to love doing that. So
And
I don't know how it went over, to be honest with you. I'm not sure how many people were listening back in Jacksonville to the Lizard Kings last game of the year, but I gave it a shot, kept the tape somewhere.
do you have it still?
Oh, we gotta
Probably.
find that tape.
But it would be one of those ones
Oh,
you stick
yeah.
in like the what were they? The little the
Mini-
Walkman tapes.
Yeah, a little
Micro
mini.
cassette tape.
So I don't know if it was mini, but it was certainly
The regular
it's
cassette
probably
tape, yeah.
A
Oh,
couple
we
of
got it.
moves later, it might have been gone. But
Did you enjoy it?
I like it because I like to talk hockey, right?
Yeah,
So
well,
for me,
Yeah.
I just realize how hard it is in the moment to get everyone's name right, who's got the puck, and how fast the game is. So there's obviously a talent involved in how much you describe and how much you just let play out, right?
Talent's a good word. I always say to Shane, we're proof any dummy can do it.
Yeah, that's
Believe me when I tell you. Hey, a quick question for you, Bruce. I'm going to click on something here. The league standings are. There's another team that's had a good start. Your
Yeah.
old squad. Do you
Yeah.
keep tabs on the old? You guys have been the two best teams in the league, Bruins and Vegas. so
Yeah,
far.
no, of course. There's a ton of players. I mean, I got a ton of respect for that organization. The players in that locker room, I wish them the best. Obviously, not when they play us, and happy to see them have success. They certainly have some new faces, but there's a lot of returning guys in that team that had a good year last year. We just came up a game short in Game 7 in the first round, and unfortunately that happens. You play good teams, but yeah, I keep tabs on them, and I'll pay a little more attention to their actual game once when they're around. I think they're 2 or 3 weeks out because you do your pre-scout, but in general, yeah, you hear about them.
Is it December 5th?
Fifth there, and then here maybe the week later or
within
something
a
like
week,
that.
yeah.
A week or
Yeah,
so.
I know they're very close together.
Yeah. Well, Bruce, wonderful to have you here as usual. Thanks for taking the time.
Yeah,
Appreciate
thanks
it
for
very
having
much.
me. Yeah.
All right, Bruce Cassidy joining us, head coach of the Golden Knights, off to a fantastic start. 13-3 out of the gates for the VGK. Lots more to come after this on Fox Sports Las Vegas.
We came from the bottom and now we the bosses. The future is mine, so what did I choose? Look, I grind every day, I got something to prove. Move. This'll make you move. This'll make you move. This'll make you move. This'll make you move. Head to the sky, feet to the ground. I give a what a hater do. If I do not try, then I will have failed, and I can't afford not to make a move. I was told I was not good enough. I was told I was not capable. I had to sit and just ask myself, what you gonna let make you grow? Everything that I've been working for is right in front of me. I will not ever let go. Using negativity as energy for me as I travel alone on this road. They didn't see the vision, they didn't understand. I went the distance, no helping hand. Now my gift got me sitting on top, and I'm about to show them that they cannot hold me down. When you a winner, you learn from your losses. We came from the bottom and now we the bosses. The future is yours, so what will you choose? If you give it your all, you got nothing to lose. When you a winner, you learn from your losses.
Great to have you with us here on November the 14th, nighttime at noon. Dave Goucher alongside Dan Duva. Be sure to get yourself, if you can, to some fresh air and escape to Rock Creek Cattle Company. Great spot located in the heart of Montana. This hidden gem is a 28,000-acre cattle ranch that has amenities catered for the entire family, including a world-class golf course, fly fishing, horseback riding, and a lot more. Exclusive memberships and real estate opportunities available right now. Check it out at rockcreekcattlecompany.com for more information. Golden Knights at 13-3 as we sit here, and a couple of home games on the docket, and then they'll head to Edmonton and Vancouver.
Only a 2-game trip this time.
Only a 2-game trip. Weird that we
Not
don't.
5.
Weird that they don't play Calgary. Go to Edmonton and don't.
Yeah,
It's
that's a strange one.
don't make the schedule. Wouldn't want the job. Great to have Bruce Cassidy here.
Yeah.
I would love to hear his play-by-play / color
yeah.
commentary of the Jacksonville Lizard Kings. If he could dig
that would
up,
be amazing.
because you have the ability. You've got a fancy device.
Yeah, we got all the toys.
Where
We
you
got all
could-
we have the technology, Dave.
Yeah, well, he could take it off whatever he was saying. I don't know if it was like was he saying?
I think
like
it
a
was
mini
cassette
disc,
tape.
cassette or
Yeah,
something like
I
that?
mean, I'm trying to think what would have been the mode of technology at that point
if
in
you
time.
could take it off the
Mini disc.
8-track that he recorded it on, that would be terrific.
Got a phonograph
Yep.
player or something,
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Did you remember? Are you old enough to remember 8-tracks, or they before your time?
8 tracks were before me.
I remember 8-tracks because
Yeah.
it had 4 programs, and it would click from one program, like program 1 to program 2,
Yeah.
mid-song. Mid-song. Be in the middle of Hey Jude, which is 25 minutes long, but like, Hey Jude.
Right. This is not the ideal way to consume music.
No.
The records, and now records are coming back.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
Love it. Yeah, we both have albums.
Yeah.
and a
When
turntable.
the boss,
That's right.
the other Bruce,
That's
puts
right.
out a record, sure, it's on your phone with the Apple and the Spotify, whatever, but you got to get the vinyl record.
Your dad had the line of the day. We walked in the studio. We said, Bruce is going to be on the show. He said, Springsteen? So I said, let me tell you, that would be quite
That'd
a
be
get.
great. He's going on every other show. I think
I
he's
know.
on Jimmy Fallon tonight.
What about Nighttime at Noon? Obviously, you can't
Yeah.
make it.
I like Night Shift. That was a great song. on the
Night
record.
Shift, yes. I wanted to touch on a couple of things that Bruce talked about. I always, I do think coaches they worry about everything, even when they're 13-3. And he said their team defense, right? And it started to kind of show some cracks here. What was it? Is it 5 in a row, 4 or 5 in a row? They've given up at least 3.
Yeah, the 5.
that right?
It's the last 4 of the trip, and then the last.
And then
game.
the last game.
Yeah.
So, and that, 3's not a lot. You look at some, but for a team that went early on 0-2, 2-2, 1-2, 0-1, like.
Yeah, they still had going into last
Yeah.
game. They had the best goals against
Yes.
average in the National Hockey League. So,
But it's always something, right? They're
Yeah.
always looking
Yeah.
to kind of,
right.
and I think they felt maybe their penalty kill had got although they killed off all 4 against St. Louis, they gave up a couple. And I don't know, he made a great point. Like, to give up 2 power play goals in a short and a goal and win the game in Buffalo is pretty, most nights the teams that win the special teams battles, not all nights, but most nights, a lot of nights, those teams end up winning. But they managed to overcome that the other night.
In terms of raw numbers, they had the most goals in the National Hockey
Yeah.
League going into the game the other night at 57, and then they scored 2 more. But if you're right there, if you're number 1, 2, 3 in goals for and goals against, the proof is in the record at 13-3-0 now.
Yeah.
And the other one more number, since we're kind of bemoaning all the numbers here, we'll throw one at you that I talked about with Bruce on a recent pregame interview, and that's the difference between the number of power play opportunities and the number of times shorthanded. Last year, Golden Knights had the fewest times shorthanded in the league. Terrific.
Yeah.
Trouble was they had the 30th most power play opportunities. In other words, there were not a lot of power plays for or against. This year, the margin is better. They're not giving up too many power plays, but they're getting more chances on average than they had last year. And as we talked about a little bit earlier, the offense has produced on the power play, but even if the power play hasn't scored, it's led to the offense clicking into gear and scoring at even strength.
Yeah, and they, you mentioned goals for, goals against.
Yep.
And so the 2 best teams in the league so far, Boston and Vegas.
There you go.
1-2 in goals for, 1-2 in goals against. That's, that doesn't always, and right behind them in terms of goals against, New Jersey.
Yeah. Who've
won
now
9
won
in a row.
9 in a row,
which
yeah.
is, and they're third over, going for 10 in a row in their next game.
Yeah.
the other thing that Bruce touched on, and not surprisingly, he said he's looking for somebody to be the glue of that third line.
Yeah, that's the phrase.
Yeah.
The glue.
Interesting.
I remember hearing John Cooper describe Andre Palat as a glue guy, how he had played in junior with Sean Couturier, and perhaps Palat's numbers were inflated because he was a line mate with Couturier, and John Cooper was of the opinion that nope, it's the other way around. Couturier's numbers were that good because of Andre Palat. He's one of those glue guys, not the star, was never one of the stars for the Lightning that won those 2 Stanley Cups. Now he's in New Jersey and is injured, but it's that kind of a player that I think he's looking for, talking about, that can be the glue there. And we've heard about duos. He mentioned Stevenson and Stone. We know about the misfits. And then even on the fourth line, you've had that crew of Carrier, Waugh, and Kolasar that has clicked. There hasn't been quite a duo or the symmetry or the synergy or chemistry, pick your word there. There's clearly some talent, and, it can take time. And boy, if you're going to allow a group of players, whether it's, there's maybe 3, 4, 5 guys who could be there. Well, if there's a circumstance in which to let them run, it's while your team has the best record in the league, as opposed to struggling, and then you're really having to make moves out of desperation. They could give them a chance to figure things out. And heck, you put Connor in them. They have produced the last couple of games anyhow.
Yeah. You've made this point certainly off the air, and I'm sure on the air. The luxury of having extra healthy players, which was a foreign concept to this team last year.
They've had healthy scratches every game this year. Ben Hutton hasn't played since the first game of the season. Jake Lecision's only played a couple. Amadio's played 11 out of the 16. Of course, you had Paul Cotter, who had played the first 5 and sat for 10. He's been back in for 2. But that is simply a luxury no Golden Knights coach has experienced in years. Right up to the salary cap, injuries, and they're plugging guys in, calling up from Henderson or at one point the Chicago Wolves. And that drives competition, because how much Paul Cotter was chomping at the bit to get back in the lineup. And he knows when he's in there, he's got to figure out what to do to stay in. And then likewise, Michael Amadio. And then, Brett Howden's got to be thinking to himself, I've got to do what I need to do to stay in the lineup, because maybe he's the next one who gets a healthy scratch. The consistency here, the guys who have played, of the top forwards here, Dave, if you include Kessel, make it the top 7 forwards, they've played every single game.
Yeah.
All 16 games. Stevenson, Eichel, Stone, Smith, Carlson, Marchessault, Kessel, they have appeared in every single game. Throw Waugh and Howden into that mix as well. And Carrier just missed the first game of the season. But that is so far. It's hard to recall the last time anything close to that happened. And not only are they in the lineup, Dave, look at the consistent production.
Yeah.
All of those guys except for Kessel are double-digit points. And Kessel's just, he got his 3rd goal last game, so he's up to 7. But Stevenson, Eichel, Stone, Smith, Carlson, Marchessault, Waugh, they're all in double-digit points already.
And some guys have shorter leashes than others, right?
Yeah.
Amadio played the first game, healthy scratch for 3 in a row, then played 10 straight. Cotter, as you mentioned, played some games early, played the first 4, out for 10, but comes back in Buffalo and scores a huge goal. Jake Lecision's only played a couple. So, a lot of times that's the way it is. I do wonder at times, that, could Nick Waugh, if you're looking for a glue guy on that third line, can he play higher up? And he has a little bit, and they've had a couple of occasions this year.
Lecision, they like Lecision at center, so when Jake came into play center on the fourth line is when Waugh moved up to the third for those couple of games.
But, I think Bruce is so hesitant to do that because, I don't know, I haven't done a detailed study of the best fourth lines in the league. But they've got to be one. And you could make the case the way they played, they might even be their third line.
Yeah, and based on minutes, they are.
Yeah.
It's more about, you think of them as the fourth line because historically William Carrier has been the Golden Knights' fourth line left wing for 6 seasons.
Right.
And it's kind of the style that they play. The identity of that group, it's a fourth line identity. Yeah, by minutes, if it's everybody. It gets to semantics about who's the first line, second line, third line, and fourth line. To me, you look at identity, but when you're really breaking it down, it's the minutes. At even strength, which group of forwards has the most minutes, and that might not always be the same game after game after game, depending on opponent, depending on score. Like if you're playing back to back and so on and so on. There are a variety of factors there, but it is all semantics. Bruce has trust in that line, Carrier, Watt, and Colasar, and I wonder if he would feel quite the same if it wasn't those three players together. At least right now, again, as he has brought up repeatedly, it could be different in a week or two or a month from now. I mean, there are 17 games. It'll be their 17th game coming up. Yeah. They play 82.
At last check,
things can change.
They've got a long way to go. We don't have too long to go, but we have one more segment to go and some things you need to know. We're going to tell you just big things coming up that are near and dear to the Golden Knights. And we're also going to touch a little bit. We mentioned Phil Kessel. Chandler Stevens has been off to a great start this year. So we'll get into as much of that as we can here in our final segment coming up. Before we step aside, the Craggy Range at the Dow Loan Center in Henderson is the perfect place to enjoy a pregame or postgame meal. Come watch your Knights on one of the Craggy Range's big screen TVs or the huge outdoor LED screens as well. Enjoy your favorite craft beer, wine, bourbon, all sorts of cocktails while you catch the action. You can find a menu for the entire family plus a full bar with 16 different beers on tap. Ooh, like that. Craggy Range Sports Bar and Grill is open daily. No ticket required. Dave Goucher, Dan Duva. Nighttime at noon. One final segment to come in a moment on Fox Sports Las Vegas.
What a hater do. If I do not try, then I will have failed, and I can't afford not to make a move. I was told I was not good enough. I was told I was not capable. I had to sit and just ask myself, what you gonna let the maker you roll? Everything that I've been working for is right in front of me. I will not ever let go. Using negativity as energy for me as I travel alone on this road. They didn't see the vision, they didn't understand.
Golden Knights and the San Jose Sharks next up, and then it's the Arizona Coyotes on Thursday, completing this little three-game homestand for the VGK. A reminder for you, the Foley Food and Wine Society was created to celebrate 3 of Bill and Carol Foley's greatest passions: world-class wines, exceptional cuisine, and magnificent travel destinations. Members of the society will have access to their entire portfolio of properties around the world and also have the exclusive opportunity to join like-minded individuals who seek to experience the finer things in life. Why would you not? Check it out today. Foley Food and Wine Society.com. Some things the people need to know. Dan? First retro jersey situation, which look phenomenal. You were at a season ticket event yesterday, and Gordon Weigers, who was does a lot of our social media and digital, he was the model for that, right? When they released it on the Twitters. And did you say yesterday he was signing autographs?
Oh, he signed my poster. I'm not sure.
Oh, just yours.
Just my.
So not for any of the other people.
He suggested he was
signed
devaluing the poster.
Autograph singular. One autograph.
One autograph.
Singular. He signed it
for me because I'm not sure how many of the fans know that Gordon is the model. Now everybody knows. It's being broadcast live on the radio.
Yeah. Now he's it, whether you like it or not.
Did a great job. The jersey looks fantastic, and Gordon did too, even though his face is unrecognizable.
Yes. Tomorrow morning, 9 a.m., Reverse Retro jersey goes on sale at all of our team stores. So here we're sitting here at City National Arena in Summerlin, so at the Arsenal, the Armory, the team stores in Henderson. So go get them. Reverse Retro jerseys. They look awesome.
It's amazing.
Oh, they look fantastic.
I love how there's so much thought that goes into these things. The fonts of the letters, of the numbers,
the Stardust,
to
and
incorporate
Excalibur,
the history, and then the glow-in-the-dark aspect of it. I think somebody said that, how did they not already have some sort of glow-in-the-dark thing? Well, I mean, you could only do so much. I mean, they had to first do the first ever gold jersey, first ever metallic jersey we've ever seen in sports. So one thing at a time, And this is just fantastic.
Yeah. If you're watching on our social media channels, that is Gordon. Well, you can't tell it's him, but you can see.
Sort of eliminated his face.
Sort of, we blocked him right out. But it looks fantastic. And is it Saturday of Thanksgiving weekend? Is that the first?
When they're wearing it?
Going to wear them for the
I
first?
think that's right.
I think
the 26th.
26th of November. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Which, here's what I envision, is the fortress being completely blacked out, dark, when the team comes out of the tunnel to take the ice, and all you can see is this glowing in the Vegas glowing in the dark on those shirts. How awesome is that?
It's already spectacular.
That's great.
When you turn the lights down
So
in that
great.
place for warm-ups. Amazing. That's against Vancouver, I believe.
Yes, exactly right. So anyway, tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. at all of our team stores, the Reverse Retro jerseys go on sale. That time of year, food drive coming up, T-Mobile Arena. So if you're heading to the game on Thursday against Arizona, bring any canned food item you'd like, non-perishables, of course. Love to have your support on that. Next Wednesday, always a special day on the calendar, Hockey Fights Cancer Night, November the 23rd. And then Gold Friday, November 25th. So we've got on the Friday. So Gold Knights have those 3 games in 4 days. The only day they don't play is Thanksgiving, thankfully, to give thanks. But Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, all at home. So lots coming up here on the Golden Knights calendar over the next couple of weeks.
And you wonder, leading up to that, and that's still just over a week away, how does Bruce Cassidy continue the goaltender rotation? It's interesting how it's worked, where clearly Thompson has had the lion's share of starts. He's had 10. Hill is now at 6. They've had a plan, and it's gone well. They're top 10 in multiple categories. I wonder how much, how long does this continue to go this way? What do you think, Dave?
Well, here's, Thompson got 4 of the 5 starts on the road. Mm-hmm. And I wonder if it's going to start to maybe trend a little bit that way. Are they looking, I don't know if it's ever going to be clear cut number 1, by the end of the season, but could you start to see that where he gets 3 out of every 4, 2 out of every 3? Mm-hmm. It wouldn't surprise me. They both, in saying that, Aiden Hill just lost his first game.
Yeah.
Right?
He had started 5-0.
Yeah.
And it was amazing how the schedule worked in a way that allowed him to play every 5 days. This time, though, it was 7 days.
Yeah.
And I wonder, he makes the miscommunication with Haig, trying to get involved. Aiden Hill's been fantastic, including that game. But once in a while, you see it's like he wants to get more involved. And just do something a little too much, and I'm sure Sean Burke, the goalie coach, is just clutching his forehead and thinking, "Oh, just everything's going so well. You didn't need to do that much." But you hope that you can keep Hill, if indeed Thompson's going to get more starts than not, that Hill doesn't find himself in that spot where he feels like he's got to do more than he needs to.
If I was smart, that's a big if. I would have asked Bruce Cassidy, have you mapped out the goaltending for the rest of the month?
Well, we can ask him that
we
tomorrow.
can ask him the next time.
We get to see him again.
That's right. We have a second opportunity because he told us in October they had mapped it out.
Yeah.
And that was how – and they did not deviate.
Yeah.
Thompson threw 2 shutouts, and he didn't get the next game
I think we saw it even back to the preseason where a guy would not play great, and they made it a point of that guy going back in the next game. I really think there's something to that. There's a lot of factors for goaltending at this level, but the trust in a guy and giving him a shot to go back out is a big deal for this coaching staff and these 2 goalies who are only in their mid-20s.
The other thing I was going to throw out there, knock on any wood you can find, it'll be 1,000 games in a row for Phil Kessel on Thursday. 1,000
Keep your fingers
in
crossed.
a row
Yep.
for Phil Kessel. So, join us Tuesday, Thursday, this week, the Golden Knights with the homestand on radio, on television. Our thanks to Songy and Ryan and Floyd here in our studio, and also to Lindsay back at Fox Sports Las Vegas. Going to entertain the parents the rest of the day, Dan. Lots to do for you. Yep, well, and thanks to our studio audience.
Live studio
Our live
audience.
studio audience. Happy Days was filmed before a live studio audience. Thanks for joining us on Fox Sports Las Vegas.